It's crazy, shout man. We've been talking about this new documentary, man, this docuseries or whatever it is about FreakNik on Hulu, right? Mm-hmm. And it's got people in the uproar, especially these Atlanta natives, because you know we talking about this was in the early '90s. Here it is now. We're not even in the 1900s anymore. Right. But guess what's so crazy?
A lot of hoochie mamas and daddies out there,
and they have moved on to be prominent figures in our communities and things of such. I'm pretty sure some school teachers on there, some doctors, some lawyers, some nurses.
Right.
Even some law enforcement. Mm-hmm. We caught up with somebody this morning.
That's right. JD. I want to know. Jermaine Dupri is in the studio.
Play a video of somebody that y'all caught up with. I'm the person y'all caught up with.
We got you.
Okay.
All right. Want to know, what was the idea of releasing this as a documentary?
I mean, for me, the idea is that our stories ain't never really been told in Atlanta the way it's supposed to be. You know, I think that people talk about Atlanta how they just talk about it. They don't really have a real true fact of how the city was built.
Right.
You know, all of the everything that's happened in Atlanta this over the past 10 to 20 years is just people having their own conversation about what they feel like Atlanta is, how they feel Atlanta is. You know, like even you take like the Amaretta record where she said that ain't Atlanta and this ain't Atlanta, right? I don't even think she understands why Atlanta, you know, why the suburbs and why, you know, these different parts are treated more like Atlanta than downtown. Because the stories ain't been told correctly, right? So it's just like, I kept watching that. I seen that when I first saw her song. I was like, man, you know what's crazy is that you know, I don't think people even understand like how, you know, how Atlanta was actually built. The city was built from black people living on Cascade Road and moving towards Greenbrier, towards Old National where I live at. That's where the movement of Atlanta is actually you know, and if you want to say that ain't Atlanta, but I'm saying that's where the movement of the city came from, right? That's where Maynard Jackson was at. That's where all the black people and the politicians of the city, they lived right there in that area. Yes. But they didn't have nothing on Cascade, right? So everything that they had was on Campbellton Road or Greenbrier. But they still ain't had nothing that was super on that side, so then they had to keep coming towards Old National, right?
Southside,
But if you talk about half of that story, you know, you start bringing up that type of stuff, then that's when you start getting into FreakNik. Right. You start getting into the story of FreakNik, why it came to the city, the people who put it together, how they put it together, what it was before it turned into everything that everybody talk about right now. What's that, my bracelet? That's let y'all know I'm here. So I mean that's you know, I'm really from here, so when I start breaking it down and people, I'm trying to talk to somebody, they don't be knowing, like, they don't actually know this, they don't know our story, right? So if you look at like what 50 Cent is doing with Power, not BMF, BMF is out, you know, Atlanta, but I'm saying with Power, he, like, all of these other cities and states, they got an opportunity to tell their story, like Compton, Boys in the Hood, all of that. You see exactly what California is. Atlanta ain't never really had that. We ain't really ever had something that tells the true story of the city, so people can understand why the city moves the way the city moves.
Like we had ATL, but it showed just a small percentage of that skate era.
Yeah, and that even that is like, it didn't show you the era of skating. It showed you.
It was just
it just showed you somewhere that T.I. and them went to hang out.
Right.
Yeah. But it's even that. That's our culture. Right. Like they've been skating before I was old. I was Dylan age.
Right.
They still skating. This is the same people that was skating when I was little. They still skating. It's just like you don't. We like.
Hell, Usher skating in Vegas right now.
We all skate. But as I'm saying, it's like, we never really like pay attention to our culture. So I see everybody tripping out and bugging out about what they was doing during FreakNik. I'm not gonna really like really show completely what everybody think they gonna see. I'm trying to expose the world to Atlanta the way that I feel like I seen the city. I ain't care about all that other stuff. I mean, I seen a lady talking on TMZ talking about she wasn't naked, but so she ain't really tripping, but she's scared. She asked Jesus to put up a fence for this documentary. Wow. So I'm like, if you wasn't naked and you had your clothes on, what the hell was you doing that you want Jesus to come in and save you?
Ooh, Jesus.
Something on the highway must have happened and she don't want to
That's the real word on the street.
Yeah, because everywhere was a traffic jam. Like, at a certain point, FreakNik just locked up, and then where you was at was where the party was at.
I will say this just to chime in. That was one of the most different eras of Atlanta. That helped shape Atlanta as far as becoming a tourist attraction. You know, we got one of the largest, busiest airports, so people can get here with the ease. If you got here, you did not leave without being on probation. You did not leave without having the best time of your life. You definitely left with a hungover and some stories to tell. So,
I mean, it's just a cultural statement for me. Like ultimately, like I said, I don't believe that people come to this city and understand why it's so many black people in our TSA. Right? Have you ever went to any other city and seen this many black people working at TSA?
No. And the lady was said I had something hard in the middle of my ponytail when we was in Cincinnati. She was a white TSA agent, and I said I've never went through any of this in Atlanta.
Because they understand.
It's not. But that's what I'm saying. It's and FreakNik to me was a teaching for other races about what this city actually is about. It's a black city. It's a black city. It's ran by a black mayor. Matter of fact, we had a black mayor since I was born. Since I've been here. Yeah, I don't know no other color mayor. You know what I'm saying? So when people be addressing other places in all these other cities, I don't really understand their issues. I understand my issues. Right. So when they was talking about defund the police, I'm from Old National Highway. I never seen white cop in my neighborhood. I don't know nothing about that.
Right.
It's brothers come over here where I'm at.
Yeah.
You call the police, it's gonna be some brothers.
Somebody
and they gonna come talk to you just like you know them.
Yeah.
Same way you gonna talk to them. That's Old National. That's College Park. You from College Park, you know what I'm talking about. It's not.
I never realized
that
there were no white cops on the south side.
Not on Old National.
This summer. Riverdale Road.
Yeah, Riverdale. I'm talking about
Old Nat Hill.
I'm talking about Old Nat.
Up and down.
Well, it was one, Billy Bob.
Oh, you had to know him, by the way,
Billy Bob had the red eyes. He locked me up a few times.
So you knew he was the same person.
Yeah, and I remember him pulling me over one day, my brother, and whoever was ranked under him pulled up and said, "Oh God," he was like, "You don't know who that is?" He was like, "I don't. Tell me about it." And when he told me about it, he took me to jail, and he done Googled my music. He's like, "So this you?"
Yeah.
All right. So then he said, "Are you a Christian?" I said, "Yes, sir, and I'm a taxpaying citizen." So when he came back, he done Googled some more lyrics. He was like, "This don't sound Christian right." Man, get your ass off the voice. We don't need
back to JD's story. JD, thank you for letting us.
So is it clear to you? I mean, like I said, it's gonna be some freaking on that. You know what I mean? My man Luke Skywalker is also executive producer with me.
Whoa.
Okay.
It's gonna be some freaking to be seen. But I'm saying, I just want everybody to know my focus on this is to really let the world see Atlanta in a way that you will never ever see Atlanta. You won't see this ever again the way Atlanta look. You won't have this peace in the streets. I know a lot of people have some bad stories about FreakNik, but the overall stories, from my point of view, I have sat on Peachtree for 4 hours in FreakNik and then no violence happened. It's just people outside playing music and having a good time. So, everybody got their own different stories, but I promise you I will not make the city look bad. I never have.
Appreciate it. Can't wait to see more of our city out here in this documentary.
That's right, guys. Get ready, because there's going to be a lot of freaking on Hulu.
A lot of freaking.
Appreciate you,
JD. You heard it from the man himself. Mayor. JD, ladies and gentlemen. Keep it locked. More with Young Jock in the streets. More than take over. I can't wait.